My name is Leanne and I'm teaching the Kronau Museum's virtual craft classes. I look forward to discovering all that nature in spring has to offer with you. See you soon! Hi boys and girls, so this week we are ready for our fourth craft activity. We'll be doing the Ladybugs, so I hope you will enjoy it. So here's what you'll need today for your fourth activity. You'll need some rocks that we picked ourselves. The paint colors are white, black, red, some glue, a measuring cup, some water in a bowl, a paintbrush, and some paper towels. So earlier in the day I went outside to see if I could find some rocks. You want to pick a nice round shaped rock that's a little bit flat and smooth. So I've put the three colors of paint that we need, the red, the black, and the white. So the black and the white will be for the head and the eyes, and then the red will be for the body. So I've discarded the darker colored rocks just because the lighter colors will be easier to paint with the red. So I'll go ahead and start. So with the red color, it's a little bit more translucent, so you'll need to add several coats. Whereas if ever you decided to pick a different color like green or blue tone color, like blue, green, or purple or something like that, then you won't need to have quite as many coats. And we don't need to paint the bottom because we won't see those, so just the sides and the top. So I've applied the second coat to this one. I'm going to apply second coat to this one. So ideally the first coat is completely dry before you add the second coat. And I'm just gonna get to the sides. It's nice to have something that you can turn so that ideally you don't get your hands too dirty. And remember, we don't need to paint the bottom. So this just allows me to turn, or you could use a newspaper as well, turn the ladybug without having to touch it to get my hands dirty with the paint. Okay, so we will let that dry. And once that's dry, we'll add the head and the eyes and the dots. My rocks are dry, so I'm going to wipe my paintbrush. So by the way, I tried with one of the darker ones and I just added an extra coat and then it was fine. So now I have three. So I wipe off the excess and then I'm going to, remember it's really important to get the paint off as quickly as possible so that you don't, so that you can reuse your paintbrush. And then I'm going to wipe it off again. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to paint the head, and we'll use the black for that. So just a little bit. And let's start with the bigger one. So you want to pick the part of your rock that's maybe a little bit more pointy for the head. And just swoop in, so like a half circle. Now you can see that the black paint isn't as translucent, so we don't need as many coats for that one. So I'm just gonna paint a little bit underneath just the sides there. And so this one, I think that would be a nice head there. I'm gonna swoop half circle for the head and paint just the sides. Put a little bit more here. And on this one, just want to make sure that's dry. Yeah. So I like this part for the head, so it'll be nice and symmetrical. Okay, so there I have the 3 heads. So remember again to wash off your paint right away. Sometimes we forget and then we leave it until tomorrow, and then by that time it's too late. Our paintbrush is already ruined. So I'm going to wash it off right away. Just wipe it off, make sure it's nice and clean. And for the next part, for the dots, we're going to be using the other end of our paintbrush. So I'm going to dip it in the black and just put little dots around. And once the dots start to get too small, you can go back in the paint. So this is my favorite part of making the ladybug. Trying to make sure they're covered in dots. And again, if you have a paper towel or something underneath that you can turn around, you don't have to touch the ladybug, so you won't ruin the paint. Maybe just one more here. Make this one a little bit bigger. Okay. So I'm going to do all 3. Now the fun thing, you can always, now we know that ladybugs are red, but feel free to be creative. You can choose different colors, and remember that the colors with the blue undertone, so blue, purple, green, colors like that, you won't need to paint quite as many coats. So if you have a darker rock, one of those colors would be better. And for the lighter rocks, then you can use orange, red, yellow, so anything with sort of in those tones, which are a little bit more translucent. But you'll still need to add more than one coat with yellow, orange, or red. So just like you did with the brush part of your paintbrush, we will be using the pointy part for other colors, so you want to wash it right away before the paint dries. So I might actually not even need water for that part. So the next part is we're going to do the eyes. Now for this part, you want to make sure that the black paint is nice and dry. So I went ahead and did the eyes. It's exactly the same as for the black dots, except we just dip in the white. So I did just a little bit, and I dabbed and dabbed 2 eyes, and I reapply the paint in between each ladybug. And remember, at the end you want to wipe immediately the paint so that it doesn't dry. So we're going to let that dry and wait about 5 or 10 minutes. Now while the ladybugs are drying, I'm going to go ahead and mix my sealant. And the reason we do this is so that we can leave the ladybugs outside in the rain and they won't get ruined. So you can make your own homemade sealant by mixing 2 parts of glue and 1 part water. So I have my water here. I'm going to do 1 spoonful. So now I need 2 spoonfuls of the glue. So that's about 1. I'm gonna mix all that up. I just removed the cover so it's a little bit faster. And I'm gonna mix that together to make a nice paste. Now that the ladybugs are dry, I'm going to put the black dots for the eyes. So for this, I'm going to use a Sharpie or a black marker. And I'm going to dot right in the middle. Sealant, so I'm going to put a little bit on my brush. And it'll appear a little bit white at first before it dries, but don't worry, that will dry and become translucent. Just going over, and then remember that when you want to get, you don't need to do underneath, but just the sides. We're going to go outside and find a nice place to put them, perhaps the garden or anywhere you like. Let's go find a place.